Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend Dion from Dion Talk. How you doing, buddy?
Howdy, I'm doing great. Ready for round three and actually excited about this topic.
Yeah, so we have come to the realization that we need to give in, give up, and admit that we are in a housing crash. We just are. So let's talk about it. What do you think?
So, right. I think what's important is that we stop fighting ourselves and trying to clarify with facts. Because the facts are there's a crash in transactions. Prices could go up. But during a crash in transactions, there are things that you can do as a buyer to get the best price because we're going to invest for yield. For the last 2 years, we've been in that seller's market. Fear of missing out was on the buyer's side. We thought prices are going to go up beyond where it makes sense. Rates are going to go up beyond where I can get my yield. So I want to get my property now and quick. Sellers had all the power. So we had to act fast. Speed was so important in the last 2 years. We've now seen a shift. Interest rates went up, which has lessened demand. So sellers are now in fear of missing out. I was hoping for prices to go up to where it made sense to sell my property. Did I wait too long? Did interest rates go up too fast for me to lose what I wanted to get? So I better sell now at the price that makes sense. And then they're going to sit on the market, which gives the fear of missing out to the sellers. Now, buyers, we don't have all the power, but if you do the work, you can have more power than we did before. Watching days on market. The longer a property sits on the MLS, that's the one metric that will make a seller either pull it off and not sell it, or adjust a price that makes sense to the buyer. And we need to be watching your market daily. This is not where we go. Okay, we're having a shift from seller's market to buyer's market. I'm going to sit back for 6 months. And then in 6 months, I'm going to jump in and buy it when it's really far on the buyer's side. You will have missed the opportunity by then.
Yeah. I got to admit, when we kind of brainstormed having this conversation, I felt uneasy, but I feel so much better now because you're right. There is a housing crash. We both believe there is a housing crash, and actually the data is already agreeing with us. But what we failed to do was talk about how we are fundamentally changing our business. And you're right, my business has changed. I believe we have a housing crash in transactions, and that's changing my business. I have failed to make that connection. You are so right. So again, what am I fundamentally doing today in my business? Because I believe there's a housing crash in transactions, because affordability for the product that I buy, because it's affordable housing, has dropped off a cliff. The payment has gone up 40 some odd %, according to Redfin. I've talked to mortgage brokers. They have seen half of their pre-qualified first-time home buyers fall off. We're seeing another 10 to 20% that technically still qualify get scared because of the media, because of job loss, because of all this stuff going on. So you're right. We are having a housing crash, and I have changed my business. So we should have talked about that more. I am expecting to get better deals because I only need to find 2 or 3 sellers this year. That's what I'm looking to add. I don't need thousands of listings to fall. I need to find 2 or 3. And you're right. What is my key? You are so right. This is just so awesome.
So I'm super happy I was able to help you make that mental shift. Now I'm going to push the envelope just a little bit more.
Oh, no.
It's not going to be one of those ones where I make you speechless and ruin the whole video. For the last 2 years, a lot of channels have been screaming crash. So we've been defensive because we know, we absolutely know with fact now, because it's the past, not looking forward. If you sat on the sidelines for the last 2 years, you missed out on so much gains in appreciation. Low interest rates to lock into 30-year fixed rate debt on properties that becomes an asset. Like the loan is an asset people are missing if they didn't take action in those 2 years. Rents have skyrocketed for all kinds of reasons. So all of the benefits for the last 2 years. I'm saying today, going forward, we need to really talk about what, as investors, the people watching and we ourselves are doing in this current housing crash. And somehow we need to stop that urge to say in transactions, because the sellers are hearing housing crash. The buyers are hearing housing crash. We can benefit from that fear of missing out on the seller by agreeing that we're in a housing crash. That's why my price makes sense lower than your selling price, but it's probably going to go lower if you wait, because rates are going to go higher, more buyers are going to pull out, and us pushing for that housing crash in our deals mentally, whether it's out loud, consciously, subconsciously, is going to make us benefit more going forward. That's a shift that didn't exist for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
If you thought a crash was coming in the last 2 years, you lost out like 40% crash in 2020, where you made a $10,000 bet.
I did.
I made in just 1 year $600,000 in appreciation gains because I didn't listen to 40% crash in 2020.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going to see those gains by hunting for that motivated seller in this housing crash market.
Yeah.
And using the tactics that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm there. You're right. We're going to talk about a housing crash. I'm not going to follow it up with the T word, because I want to, you investors, if you're a one rental at a time fan or student, you need one buyer. You need one seller who's motivated. You need one seller who might even remember the last crash, right? I'm marketing to people that own property at the bottom of the market, because I'm going to remind them, because my market went down 75%. My marketing is going to say, remember the crash? Get out early. Give me some terms. I can pay a higher price. I'm going to be pushing, like, there's a big red button. I'm going to be pushing that fear button. Right. Like, and then see who comes and gets the pellet. That's what I'm going to do. And for me, it is all about days on market. Again, the only tool I had was fast and cash. You try it hundreds of times, you get a couple. The market has shifted. I'm going to be doing the following for the next 2 years. Days on market, currently at 15 days. I honestly, Dion, believe this crash is going to be so bad that my 15 days will go to 30 days, probably over the next 4 or 5 months. That T word is going to slow down that much, because I only need to do 3 deals this year and I hit my goal. So I'm going to be very picky. I'm going to make every deal. This is what I did from 2008 to 2015, 16, is I made every deal better than the next one, because I didn't know where the bottom was. So I made every deal all the way down until Wall Street came in and just bought everything. And then I had to change again. I have pivoted 3 times, once at the peak, once at the bottom, and now I'm peaking or changing again. I'm going to make every deal better than the last one, because I'm going to fish with fear. I'm going to fish with terms. The T word is definitely crashing, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. And I suggest every owner, occupant, buyer, every buyer today has more power. And I believe we'll have more power going forward, because there's just not enough of us. That's what I think is going to happen, is inventory explodes, days on market explodes, price drops explode. And you guys think the media is negative on housing today? Just wait for 60 days. The media is going to be screaming negativity. And I'm going to use that to write better and better and better and better offers. It's going to be so fun, so amazing. We're going to keep people up to date every week, but that's what I'm doing. You're right. There's a crash. Gosh darn it. It's happening right now.
Well, there's 3 things that I take away from the last couple minutes of what you were saying. The first is, I'm as excited as you are. Like, this is going to be, I think, the funnest time since I've been investing, because every year for the last 10 years, it's gotten more difficult.
Right.
Every year, people are saying prices are so high, there has to be a crash. Interest rates jump up in 2018, pandemic in 2020, World War, whatever is going to happen now. I mean, it's just all these things that make it hard. Well, now we're finally seeing sellers go into the fear of missing out stage. And so that's the first thing. I'm excited. The second thing is, you said you only need to get 3 in the next year. Find 3 out of your whole market. I only need to really find 1.
Yeah,
if I find 1 and it's the fourplex I want at the right price range, with my goal of spending at least $1 million or investing at least $1 million into that property, that's my win. But the third thing is what you said. In a market like we're seeing now, like you said, in the last crash, every deal is just better than the last deal.
Exactly.
And I've made deals that kind of went, I had a great deal, then not a great deal, but it was good, and then great, and then but now we're going to see greater and greater, because we have the power for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And again, I'm going to call it, we will have a housing crash. I'm just going to be comfortable knowing what I mean by that. And I'm going to use it to my advantage. Sellers are going to be thinking it. The media is going to help us. And I know in the back of my mind that the median price will do what the median price does, but the median price means nothing. So being factually correct has been hurting us. And a lot of that was built on the fact that the people calling for a crash in 2020 were just wrong. And I've anchored on that. It was right to be anchored on that in 2020. It's probably not right to continue to be anchored on that now.
Here's why I think it's okay. I'm literally okay. I'm absolutely okay with us making the shift of what we did for the last 2 years. And I've only had a YouTube channel for a year. So in the last 2 years, the YouTube people screaming for a crash were saying, don't take action. So we were fighting to correct that. I bought a triplex that's had a first year 17% cash on cash return because you were saying there isn't a crash coming, there isn't even a correction coming, interest rates are down, check your prices, and my yield was still there. So thank you for that. In those last 2 years, what we're saying now is we're not saying wait for the crash to take action. We're saying we're in the freaking crash now. You take action today. This is the crash that everybody's been waiting for. We're in it. And then we'll just stop with the T word.
Yeah. So the crash is here. Do the work. For me, that means days on market. That means understanding average. We're only writing great deals. And every deal for the foreseeable future, probably years in the making, is supposed to be better than your last one. That's what I want you and I doing. That's what I want all of our students doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Where can people find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where this Tuesday, 4 p.m., I will be coming on talking in a little, very animated about the massive housing crash we're in right now.
Awesome. I look forward to it, buddy. Thanks again.
Ciao.